All right, here are my NFL picks. So let's shift to the NFL now. I've got the Falcons plus the points, Bengals to cover, Giants, Dolphins the under, Ravens, Steelers. I think the Steelers bounce back as bad as they were against the Bengals and play better at home against the Ravens. I've got the Jags plus the points and the Broncos plus the points. A lot of underdogs. What stands out to you from a gambling perspective about the week slate in the NFL? We already talked about Cowboys Saints, but as you look ahead to Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting week because you have a ton of teams laying big numbers here. And this is the time of year where odds makers are going to force you to pay a premium if you want to back those so-called elite sides. We can start with that Rams-Jaguars game and kind of work backwards a little bit. I mean, this is a Rams team that I think a lot of people, yourself included, thought was going to run away with the NFC with the addition of Matthew Stafford. And over the last couple of weeks, they've shown quite a bit of vulnerability. The offensive line, probably not as good as we anticipated they'd be early in the season. I think people have undervalued how important Robert Woods was to the offense, not just as a receiver that could line up in the slot and the outside, but what he meant blocking on the outside for, the run game, something that Odell Beckham didn't want to do in Cleveland, and he clearly doesn't want to do as a member of this Rams offense. And for all the superstars defensively, I mean, they haven't exactly lived up to some of their, preseason expectations. I think Raheem Morris has really struggled to get them to buy in, but I'm not sure I'd want to step in front of them this week, knowing that Jacksonville is a little bit loose in the secondary. And if the Rams can't get healthy here, I mean, this thing may spiral out of control completely. The Falcons, it's a side I agree with completely with you. You look at Tampa, they've yet to cover a game on the road so far this season. And the game first time around against Atlanta, I know what the final score says, 48-25, but it was a 3-point game going into the fourth quarter, a couple of pick sixes that allowed the Bucs to run away and hide. So I do think you get an all-in effort from the Falcons in this spot. I can definitely see them being in this one from start to finish. As far as that Broncos-Chiefs game, I mean, this is a game where we actually bet the total on the opener early on in the week at 49.5. I think defense can rule the day. It's always a little bit scary fading Andy Reid off of a bye, knowing that I think he's 14-7-1 against the spread the last 22 times he's had extra time to prepare. But when you look at Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, this guy has lined people's wallets to the tune of 5-0 against the spread as a road underdog of 8 or more, or an underdog anywhere of 8 or more in his career. I think at last check, 23-4 against the spread when he's catching points on the road. I just don't know if he's at 100%, but I think Denver's defense can do enough, and in a low-scoring game, it's extremely attractive to gobble up all those points.
There's not a lot of great games. What do you think about that Ravens-Steelers game? Are the Steelers done? Does Big Ben have any proverbial bullets left in the chamber?
I mean, my biggest fear for the Steelers isn't even their offense. I know they were pathetic last weekend getting trucked by the Cincinnati Bengals, but it's a defense that's getting by on the logo on their helmets more so than actual production. I mean, they've now given up 40-plus points in back-to-back games. I mean, they're trending towards being the worst rush defense in franchise history as far as a yards per carry standpoint. And you have Chase Claypool coming out earlier this week saying we need music in our practice to try and help us, motivate and get us more engaged. I mean, you have former Steelers and Alan Faneca and Ramon Foster, along with, Rocky Blyer, who have not exactly taken to this new age Steelers evolution. We saw a little bit of that last year when Juju Smith-Schuster was recording Mike Tomlin. I wonder if the changing of the guard in the Steelers isn't that same blue-collar work ethic that we've seen in the past. I think Baltimore can get healthy here. I mean, Lamar Jackson was terrible on Sunday night, even in a Ravens cover. But when you look at Lamar and knowing that he lost last year to the Steelers, the Ravens lost the season series because they had one of those games where they played with about 3 healthy bodies, given some of the COVID protocols. I'm going to lean towards the Ravens here, despite how good Big Ben has been in his career as a home underdog and an underdog in the division.
Last game to hit you with, I think it's a super intriguing one given how well the Bengals have been playing. Chargers, obviously Justin Herbert, always a danger in terms of he can go off. He's had an up and down season a little bit. Certainly the defense has as well. Chargers sitting at 6-5. Going on the road against the 7-4 Bengals, who have been one of the great surprises so far in the season. Bengals around a field goal favorite. What happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach Taylor is an absolute dud as a head coach. Let me get that out there now. So the Bengals doing what they've done this season is remarkable in my opinions, because Taylor's going to have a chance to win, coach of the year, probably mentioned in the same breath as Cliff Kingsbury and what Bill Belichick has been able to do in New England. I think it's a 3-horse race there. But you look at Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow has been the difference maker. Even last week, they didn't do a whole lot in the passing game, and teams have really started to shut down Jamar Chase. T. Higgins steps up with a massive day, and you see Joe Mixon go absolutely bananas. I mean, he's now the number 3 leading rusher in the league, and he's really emerged as a true dual threat running back, not only as a runner between the tackles, but as a receiver out of the backfield. And I think this Chargers run defense is going to be put in a difficult position. But you're not stealing anything with the Bengals right now as a field goal favorite. If the number got to 3.5, it would warrant a value bet for me from the Chargers. But with Asante Samuel looking like he's going to miss, the Chargers lose one of their top components in that defensive backfield. So I think it's all about Justin Herbert and what he's able to do. So let's see what this Chargers offense looks like. But pretty incredible as we sit here the first week in December, Clay, talking about a Chargers team that may be on the outside looking in of the AFC playoff picture when so many people early on had Justin Herbert as a potential MVP candidate, and they were ready to anoint Brandon Staley one of the best head coaching hires of this past offseason.